Halloween and the infamous Michael Myers have become timeless icons of horror, defining the slasher genre and captivating audiences for over 4 decades. With 13 films in the franchise, Michael Myers is the ultimate killing machine. He's unstoppable, and he continues to haunt our screens regardless of how many times he meets his cinematic end. Today we're diving into a full ranking of all the Halloween movies, and joining me for this special discussion is fellow YouTuber, filmmaker, and horror superfan, Miss Haunted Hippie, aka Miss Kylie Rosanne. She's super awesome, super talented. Definitely check out her page, subscribe, and binge her videos, guys. I thought it would be exciting to shake things up a bit. It is Halloween after all, so let's get into it. Miss Kylie, happy Halloween. Welcome to the show. It's an honor. I'm super excited. Before we chat about the night he came home, can you tell us a little bit about your page, who you are, what you do?
I've been doing YouTube for almost the past 5 years now, and I've strictly been talking about horror movies the entire time. I also was a film student. I graduated from film school in 2021 and have been writing, producing, directing my own short horror films since then. So, my first one is on my YouTube page. It's called Somnum, and then the next one is in the festival circuit right now, but it's coming out next year.
Yes, I did see Somnum. I loved it. I love the lighting. I mean, it looked like y'all had a lot of fun, and that's one of the things that I love about indie film is just, I'm a filmmaker as well, and I love just the idea of people, artists coming together to create something. It doesn't even matter what the genre is. I will watch any and everything. So congrats to you and everyone involved. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
So Halloween, we're here. The way I kind of categorize the franchise, there's 13 movies total. But obviously there's the OG, there's 1 through 8, there's the Rob Zombie 1 and 2, and then there's the Blumhouse, trio. So the very first, Halloween, John Carpenter, Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously that is where it all began. That is the night that he came home. And do you remember watching that for the first time? And if so, what was your first reaction?
I didn't have the best first impression, but it's totally on me because I just didn't set myself up well enough for it. I think I was 19 at the time, and I watched it in my college dorm just on my laptop in the middle of the day because I was getting ready to head out and watch Halloween 2018 in theaters, which was my first Halloween movie in theaters, my second ever Halloween movie. And so, yeah, naturally, when you watch an old horror movie and you're 19 and you grew up in the 2000s, I wasn't too impressed at the time, but I've definitely gone on a journey with it, and my second viewing was a lot better. I was watching it I was at my parents' house. They got like a nice TV and surround sound and stuff, and I watched it late at night and was just totally hooked, and I've loved it ever since.
The first time I saw Halloween, there were 2 things that stood out. One was the idea of having a killer with no story, there's no reason why Michael is the way he is, and I love that. Second was the character of Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasence. That guy inspired me so much. If anything, Donald Pleasence is what kept me hooked. That's what pulled me into the franchise. That's what made me believe in him, in Michael, in every story, no matter how crazy or how much they went in a different direction. Donald Pleasence is the reason that I love Halloween so much.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
So what's your top 3 out of all of them?
Okay, I have a little mixture. My number 3 is the OG Halloween, and all of my top 3 I give a perfect 5-star rating to over on Letterboxd. My number 2 is Halloween 3.
Why do you love Halloween 3 so much?
Well, I didn't initially. I like to say that my brain wasn't really developed enough to understand the concept of a morally complex character. But now I've developed. I'm 5 years older, and I just was able to appreciate everything else that was going on. I also knew that Michael Myers wasn't in the movie before I watched it, and that was no issue for me really at all. It was all the other stuff that I couldn't really grasp. that now I do, and now I'm a huge fan of morally complex protagonists, and then also having more of an appreciation for Dan O'Hurley, who, much like Donald Pleasance, is just a total thespian, and I really, really would have liked to see more actors like that throughout the franchise, and I think it's really special that we got a taste of that in Halloween 3 at least. So
That's definitely one that divides the fans a little bit. I love it. I think the soundtrack is awesome. I love the concept. I think if they remade that one today, it would be amazing.
it's hard to compare to the rest of the franchise. It's totally separate. Like I've toyed with kind of putting that one at number one because I just my top three are so they're so different from one another. Because my number one is Halloween Kills, which
Wow, okay.
it just did something that I feel like no other slasher franchise has gone so far with. I can't even really think of another slasher franchise that was so so heavily unpacking the trauma of the installment that came before it. So I like to bring up that, you know, there's the character of Oscar, and in 2018, oh, he's just annoying, whatever, he's slasher fodder. But then Halloween Kills is like, well, how would his mother react to seeing his dead body? And just kind of makes the town of Haddonfield so much more real to me. I love Big and Little John. My boyfriend and I actually were gonna be dressed up as them this year for Halloween, but then we saw the substance, and now we're doing the Sue and Harvey thing. I have yet to understand what people are seeing in the movie that makes it so bad, because even when I watched it for the first time, I never had the thought that the Evil Dies Tonight chant was annoying, but that's what everybody says. And then I released my review at the time, and it was like this glowing review, and then everyone was like, oh, I hated this movie, and I was like, wait, what? I felt like I was on such an island, and I kind of still am.
My top three is Halloween 4, 5, and 6. 6 being 1, then 4 and 5. And I know 6 gets a lot of mixed emotions and controversy. I knew that Halloween 6 would be the last time I get to see Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. The producer's cut is my favorite because of that reason. You get to see him a whole lot more. The cult thing didn't bother me as much. I really wanted to know, at that point, I wanted to know more about Michael. I really wish we would have gotten to see an older Danielle Harris, what she did in 4 and 5, and 5 especially. I think her performance was phenomenal. Even though I prefer 4 more.
That one has, I feel like, one of the most universally beloved endings of the franchise, at least just like anecdotally in my comment section. It's such a fan favorite. So if you also love 5, then I'm really curious what you would want to get a proper sequel to. Do you want them to carry on the idea from 4? Because Danielle Harris has always wanted to come back and do that. But she's also said that she would want to make a proper sequel to Part 5 because of all the shenanigans that happened with Part 6. So I'm curious what you'd rather see.
To this day, I still want to see the handing of the torch from Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, handing things over to Danielle Harris. I wanted to see an older Danielle. I wanted to see where things could have gone, and I think Danielle would have done amazing things. There's that infamous picture where they actually, Jamie Lee Curtis and Danielle Harris got to meet in real life. Scout's in that picture as well, and I so badly wanted to see them together in a Halloween movie. H2O. That was actually the first Halloween movie I saw in the theater. It's definitely my favorite Jamie Lee performance as Laurie Strode, especially the showdown at the end. My favorite shot is when Michael is flipping the tables, and it was so awesome. And then of course, Jamie decapitates him, and the audience, it was so loud. They went nuts. They were cheering, they were clapping, and that's what made the movies, for me back then, that the audience reaction, it was a part of the movie. It was a part of the movie experience, and it made it special. And those are the things that I remember even rewatching now. And Halloween H2O was a special time. It was very, very cool.
I love how both H2O and Resurrection are just total time capsules of their kind of respective periods. It's kind of crazy how much of a jump there was in just that like 4 years or whatever. But the late 90s slasher scream feel versus the reality TV vibes of Resurrection, which I grew up on America's Next Top Model, for better and for worse. But yeah, and then the fact that Tyra Banks is in Resurrection, I love it. I really think that if Resurrection was a scary movie, more people would love it, and they would be more into the irony of it and maybe love it a little bit more ironically or something. But I know that because it's part of the official franchise, most people are always going to hate it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll live on my island with that one too, you know?
Are you a Rob Zombie fan?
Not so much. I just don't think that his style meshes with me very well. I grew up, I don't know, with older parents and with older grandparents, and the language thing, I was raised on not conservative values but conservative language. So like all the swearing and the sexual dialogue and
Sure.
stuff, it kind of like I'm wired to be like, ugh, you know. But besides that, I do appreciate his style because he definitely has his own thing going on.
I love his style of shooting for sure. What I didn't like right off the bat was that he gave Michael, a history. He gave Michael, the whole, just abusive home, whatever it is. That part right there, it threw me off. So it's a good movie overall, but I felt like they should have just made it something else because I think that took away from Michael, a lot. But, but I still watch it, all the time. Positives, again, I love his style of filmmaking. My favorite shot is when little Michael first puts on the actual mask and he's after his sister and they're in this hallway. The way the overhead light was, it brought out the detail in Michael's mask. And I felt like that was something that we hadn't really seen before. And it looked really, really creepy, especially on this little kid. So that is my favorite shot pretty much in Rob Zombie's 1 and 2. 2, I don't really like too much.
Yeah, me too. I have found an appreciation for it though, as I have with all the Halloween movies, because I get what he's trying to do and kind of tackling the mental illness and PTSD aspect of it. So I actually do prefer the director's cut of Halloween 2.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super successful, but I find it really thought-provoking, and so in that way I still enjoy it, you know? So
I wish Rob Zombie would have taken the intro to Resurrection. I wish that was Rob Zombie's. He starts with Laurie, kill Laurie, and we hand the torch over to Danielle and just let her take it. I do think that the main actress Scout was awesome. I love her too, but I wish that I wish Jamie was back. 2018 Halloween, I can tell you right now, the soundtrack is my absolute favorite thing about Halloween 2018. I love all the little elements that they added in it, the little guitar riffs that they add. That movie was so awesome to see in the theater, and it was extremely loud. And I saw it twice in the same day when I went to go see it, and I thought they did a really good job, especially with Michael.
the score of the entire David Gordon Green trilogy and the soundtrack for Halloween Ends, actually. I Was a Teenage Werewolf. They have, like there's the Cramps and then whatever. The music's really good. But yeah, my favorite thing about the score definitely is that Carpenter didn't go with the typical like orchestral composition. It's so rock and roll, and I'm such a rock and roll person. And yeah, those guitar riffs, like you mentioned. I think because the first time that we hear it, I think is right after Oscar's death, and Allison screams, and it's like, "Wah!" And I was like,
yes.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm such a sucker for the music. I get so emotionally like pulled around by music. You can for sure manipulate me in the theater with a good score.
Soundtrack, awesome. I remember coming home after watching it, and I literally, I don't want to say that. I was gonna say I downloaded the soundtrack. I did, but anyway, I was able to get. I made a playlist with all the music, and I would work out to it, and the garage was rattling with that soundtrack. Yes, the entire Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. Yes, the music in that trilogy is absolutely amazing. So yes, that is amazing.
I think that there definitely is a magnificent, coherent supercut that involves the whole trilogy. I think if Corey had been introduced sooner, and they kind of introduced more of the like paranormal elements, I guess, of Michael, maybe a little bit sooner, I personally could have done without them, because after I saw the alternate extended cut of Halloween Kills, the ending of that shows Laurie picking up a knife and walking out of the hospital as if the next movie is gonna, pick up on the same night again. And I would have preferred that, I think, just because we hadn't seen Corey before, even though I think Rowan Campbell is amazing. Like, I thought he was so great. And I don't hold on to the anger. I'll admit, I felt anger at Halloween Ends because
Yeah.
it just was so far out of left field. It just was so not was what was marketed to us. And so initially, yeah, I was mad because I was like, I loved 2018 and I loved Halloween Kills. And then it just ends with such a tone shift and such a departure from these characters that they set up and we loved.
I wasn't really happy with Ends at all because I felt like they kind of did what Six did. They were trying to explain something that was so out there, but again, for it being the third movie, it was way too soon, and I think that's what kind of mixed a lot of fans, a lot of people. So for me, I was definitely one of those. I think the acting was great. I think casting all around, performances all around was awesome, but Halloween Ends, especially the way they kill him and everything, I just thought, man, I was hoping. I thought the ending in Halloween, the first one, the 2018, that ending was way more epic than what we saw in Halloween Ends. I don't care how many sequels they make or how much they change the story. It just, to me, Michael, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode is Michael's sister, and that is that. So when I see them together, that's how I see it. And I know a lot of people, even John Carpenter, didn't like the idea of that, that cliche of, oh, it's his sister or they're related. But I felt that the mystery of Michael, was always there. And that's what was so important. That's what made those movies so special, is that we never really explained Michael. And even when they tried to, or when they did, it wasn't till, 6, which everybody kind of complains about, but that's how I see it. And it's probably the filmmaker in me, I don't know, but that's how I took in those movies. As far as closing thoughts on the entire Halloween franchise, closing thoughts, what would you say?
Okay, my closing thoughts on the franchise. I want to say that it's my third favorite horror franchise of all time. The only ones I would put above it are Scream and Child's Play. But just because of the sheer volume of Halloween movies, there's 13 of them as opposed to there's only 6 Scream movies. I feel a little bit inclined to call it my favorite, even though I think quality-wise, like Scream and Child's Play are a little more consistent. But there's probably more movies in the Halloween franchise that I enjoy if you really stack it up. So, yeah, I think I'm always gonna love Halloween. I think I'm gonna continue to rewatch the entire franchise every single year. That's how it's going so far, and I'm very happy living my life that way.
Oh, that's so awesome. Ms. Kylie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You are amazing. Super congrats on all your work, talent, and success. Happy Halloween to you and your family.
Thanks for having me. I hope to come back.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for believing. Happy Halloween. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.